Okay, we're ready.
All right, this Wednesday, January 19th, 2022, we're calling the Woodford County Library Board of Trustees meeting to order. We have a quorum, and our first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the December meeting.
Where did Mo go?
Where is Mo? Like, I guess that leaves Bill in charge.
Has he pulled a Houdini on us?
Yeah, he's not on the list anymore. He must have lost service.
Well, I can tell you I found a couple of corrections to the minutes.
Okay, what were they, Patrick?
Oh, let's see. Under guest Tom Smith, the second paragraph, it says Mr. Smith presented a mock-up of the plague for the local history room. I'm pretty sure that was meant to be a plaque.
Oh, no, I think it's plague, Patrick. I don't know.
Sometimes I wonder.
I think that was an honest human error.
Oh, I no doubt. I believe that.
Tonight, I'm going to talk about locust.
Oh,
Frogs too, right?
Oh, that's a good one. Thank you, Patrick.
And there
All
was
right.
another one. I just have to find it.
Under guest Jared Noble. My name is spelt wrong, but I don't think it matters.
It
Sure.
does.
So is Mr. Nobles.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it says guest -P Jared Noble, Noble, and then the very next line it's Nobel, as in
Oh.
the founder of the prize.
hmm.
I think that was the other mistake that I identified.
Okay, are there any other corrections or additions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Also move.
Mo's back. And
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion passed. Mo, are you back?
I'm back. We lost power there for a short time, but I'm
oh,
back.
oh goodness, there were a couple of misspellings that we're going to correct in the minutes for this month. So,
All right, the next order of, let me see. We voted on that, correct?
Correct.
Financial report.
I don't have too much to report. It is interesting that we have already 6 months into the fiscal year, believe it or not. And just for reference, you know, my favorite report with the percentages of where we're at in the fiscal year, we should be, of course, at 50, but we're currently at 46%. So I think we are on target. The only other thing that I have to report financially is we did receive the $50,000 donation, which was very kind. In December, it came in as a wire transfer on the 22nd. And my recommendation is for your consideration, we have a CD that is coming due in February, is that perhaps we consider moving that money into that CD just for safekeeping. But that's just on the table for next month. We don't have to decide today because I believe that comes due on the 28th. So we can just consider it for now. But if anyone has any questions about any of the transactions, please let me know.
Well, let's bring it up right now. Does anybody have any disagreement to put it with the CD if we so choose in February? All right. Why don't we just think about that, and we can do that in February, Karen?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm gonna let Tom come in and bring us up to date. I don't know, and Dalton's with us. And the first order of your up-to-date report will be, I want to thank you for the cement in the front door. It worked out perfectly, a lot better than the gravel. So Tom or Dalton, whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I'll let Dalton go ahead and give a brief summary of the work that was accomplished last month.
All right, so over the past 30 days, our general contractor has completed installation of temporary enclosures trying to keep heat inside of the building. Spray foam insulated the structural steel columns, patched the Main Street entrance with concrete, our favorite addition yet. Began removal of the temporary shoring system of the front facade, began shoring for penetration into the existing building, mobilized some demo equipment for the sidewalk removal. Our masons have mobilized their scaffolding system at the west wall. Dixie Roofing was back on site for the third time today, Tom, and we believe that we found at this time they had time to let the caulking cure, and we water tested it 2 or 3 different times. We didn't see any leaks, so hopefully that took care of that. Our framing crew has completed the exterior sheathing, completed the installation of Tyvek, started installing bat insulation at the north parapet wall, completed metal stud reinforcement, and obtained a partial framing inspection. Our mechanical contractors performed the geothermal shutdown, tied in domestic water, set the rooftop unit cooling tower. They did hydronic line and hose kit rough ends, installed the plumbing vent through roof, did some prefabrication of piping in the mechanical room, overhead duct rough in, and hung the water source heat pumps on the second floor of the new addition. And our electricians continued their overhead rough in on the first and second floor, continued their in-wall rough in on the first and second floor, ran their conduit to the mechanical room to tie into the pumps, and finished the remaining light fixtures on the second floor of the existing library.
Any questions for Dalton? All right, Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Dalton and Mo. Yeah, and there were a couple of big tasks there. Getting rid of the shoring holding up Main Street is a good sign. You all have gotten accustomed to seeing that. Hopefully we can get equally accustomed to it being gone. And Dalton touched on the other one, the adding shoring for the new penetration between the enlarged children's activity room and the existing is another good task to get started and out of our way. And you all may recall at the last meeting, Dalton mentioned a material delay for storefronts. And Dalton, have you had any other dialogue with Central Kentucky about storefronts or other contractors about material delays?
No other contractors have reached out to me concerning material delays, although CKG did send me an email 2 days ago just reiterating the storefront material delay possibility.
Okay, thank you. And I also received today a time or weather delay. Dalton did, I think that was for 3 days in September through October. And what we asked the contractors to do is, we have historical data, or we don't, the National Weather Service does, that identifies typical weather and rain deviations. And for anything that goes beyond those norms, those are typically agreed upon as being approved weather delays. So there were 3 days that that Dalton and Travis shared with me for that, which I don't take issue with. And Dalton, did Travis talk to you about other delays?
Yes, he and I spoke about the proposal request 12 delay, which we filed for 28 working days on that. The issue was brought up at the October 21st, 2021 monthly management meeting and was issued in the minutes. Sherman Carter Barnhart issued this PR number 12 on October 26th. Codell notified SCB on the 27th that the critical path would be affected by PR number 12, and Sherman Carter Barnhart did not dispute. The board approved PR number 12 on November 11th. The PR work was complete. Well, I had this written out. The PR work was finished right before Thanksgiving. And the steel guys came and finished their roof in the first week of December. I believe it was December 3rd or 4th.
And
the 28 working days doesn't include, that's from the 27th. And really the delay started on the 21st, but we chose to file from the 27th instead.
And Mo and others, I received this request from Travis today, and only had some brief time this afternoon to try to dissect it. And the dates that that Dalton mentioned are absolutely correct. This is sort of a complicated topic that is not related to a single item. PR 12, which you all probably remember, was the one that had some that involved masonry repairs to that front facade. There were other tangential issues and PRs that were associated. You might remember there was a PR 8 that had to do with improvements to the wood beam that create that storefront opening on the Main Street facade. And we identified that originally as PR 8. You all also might remember that after dialoguing with Codell and with our own structural engineer, that eventually morphed into PR 08R, which slightly altered some of the steel that was supporting that wall and some epoxy anchors. So it was an evolving issue. And going back and looking at the days where some of these questions were posed back and forth, some of the, again, I don't take exception to the dates that Dalton mentioned. And some of those are simply dialoguing back and forth between Codell and ourselves about what's necessary. We had to reach out to Mason Structures, one of the consultants or one of the contractors, to sort of refocus what PR 8 and 8R became. And that also involved some disputes with pricing for another contractor with Rising Sun. And there was a cumulative effect to that. I mean, I'd see it here at one point, it took 5 business days to get from one conversation to another. That sort of represents the extreme of it. Most of them were within 1 day or 2 days. And then once we came to a conclusion on the price for PR 12, you all might remember that's the one where you all agreed to do time and material not to exceed. I think there was probably about a week in order to get that into in front of the board and for board approval. So I was surprised at the number of days, it being 28. And if I were being if I had more time to investigate this, I might be able to give a better answer or a more detailed answer. But in looking at it, I don't see anything odd in the number of days that it took correspondence and responses, either be it to what the scope is or questions of pricing. So at this point, I think 28 days is probably going to be fairly close to what is reasonable for those various issues affecting the masonry wall.
There's really no recourse we have anyway. You're the man on the street that is our voice.
Well, yes, you do. I mean, I could put a finer comb to this, and we could dispute whether it's 28 or 22. I don't doubt that it's a bigger number than anybody wants. I'm not sure if it's frankly worth the use of hours to do that. But that's the reality of it. It's a found condition. I don't fully understand or agree with everything, but is it 75 or 80% correct? To that, I have no doubt.
I will say that Travis and I did try our best in the short amount of time that we spoke about it to do our due diligence and count up the days, go through all of the issues. But like Tom said, it was really just a snowballing effect of one thing after another that this masonry wall was affecting. So I don't disagree with anything that Tom said, but the 28 days is probably very close to the amount of days that it was.
Well, I think going in, we all knew that that historical salvage for the front of that building was going to cost more than we ever estimated it would, and it's lived up to that expectations. It was a bigger challenge. Any other input from the board?
Kind of what happens with an older building.
Exactly.
Find stuff you weren't expecting.
Well, if there are no other questions, just to continue sort of on my typical banter, we have received payment applications from Codell, and there is a progress meeting tomorrow, weather permitting. And I know my coworker Patrick has started looking at those. I have as well. So if there are any issues with that, we'll address those with Codell in the meeting, but you will hopefully be receiving those signed applications shortly. Another item that's repetitive is the special inspections. And I sent to Karen earlier from Ellie Gregg, who performs those services. There was an invoice for $324.50. And that seemed reasonable. You all will we will peter out of work for them in short term. So hopefully we'll get one or two more of those, and we won't have to revisit that again. And so I don't know if you all need to take board action on that or not.
On the payment of that
$324.50.
I hear a motion on that. Karen, do you have any reason to believe we shouldn't pay for it?
No, I think it's very reasonable.
Let's have a motion on that.
I'll give you
So
a motion.
moved. Nope. You do it.
So moved.
Seconded.
I'll second.
All right, it's passed that we will pay that estimated $300 inspection bill.
Okay, thank you. And typically I then talk about where we sit on proposal requests or change orders. You all may remember at the last board meeting, there were some proposal requests
It's
that
in
I
their board
promised.
packet, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It was in their board packet. Go
Okay.
ahead. Yes, sir.
So at the last board meeting, I mentioned some proposal requests that I would issue, and I finally did get those posted. PR 17 has to do with replacing the entry doors at the Logan Helm Library off of Main Street, and then some hardware improvements to the other entry doors. Codell only got those proposal requests recently, so we await pricing. Another one that you might remember is to provide a fence along the southwest property line. And similarly, we issued that. We are awaiting Codell pricing. And of a lesser issue, the north wall of the addition is, of course, a metal panel. And the construction of that wall is really metal studs with the steel frame inside that. We had identified some galvanized hat channels, and as the name implies, it's a little U-shaped metal framing member. Those were determined to be redundant. We don't need those. So we've also ordered a proposal request seeking a credit not to install those metal hats. And then another item that we spoke of that has been issued as a proposal request, number 14 specifically, was to investigate and hopefully repair whatever's going on with the balustrade that's atop the old original Logan helm. You probably remember some conversation or some photos. That balustrade is leaning. We suspect the interior framing has rotted. And so we've issued a proposal request to pull back the membrane and remove some decking so that we can see the interior structure of that. The only thing about that, and again, we're awaiting the PR, that is only for sort of the exploratory. We can't issue a proposal request to address it until we see it. So when we do get a pricing response for proposal request 14, we will eventually be looking at an associated proposal and change order for whatever faults we find incorrect. And the only new item I have for discussion today was the idea of replacing the existing T8 lamps in the basement to be LED. In our original scope to our electrical engineer, we excluded doing the work in the basement. I think we were paranoid about where the prices were going to be and trying to be as economical as we can. We didn't identify those lamps as being replaced. We received pricing of $14,127.88 for such. And in reviewing that with the electrical engineers, they believe that to be a fair and reasonable price. So I don't know if you have any questions or if you have any thoughts, but that would be the cost associated for that modification.
Get me straight on this. Would this be covered in the addition of the new building, or is this up and above the cost of the new construction?
No, it would be new. It would be a change order with additional cost for 14.
Okay.
Yeah, and what it does, Mo, if you walk down into the basement, you've got, and they're typically service lights. But the nice thing about changing to LED is that is something that truly does pay for itself. It might take 5 or longer years, but because there's far less energy consumption, that will eventually pay for itself. Now, chances are you don't use those service lights nearly as much as you do on the public floors above it. So perhaps my 5 years was optimistic. And again, our instructions to Staggs and Fisher were not to include it. Everything else in the building, including the first and second floors of both the original existing library and the addition, would have LED fixtures.
Karen, how often do people go into the basement?
I mean, we use it on a daily basis. I think from a maintenance point, you know, it would be really good if we could have it switched over, because those bulbs only have to be replaced every like 10 years, you know, and you get rid of the fluorescent lighting down there and the waste from those bulbs and such. But I have a question for Tom. And is this something that could wait till like towards the end of the project to see if we're on target as far as budget, instead of throwing it in the mix now?
Sure.
You know,
Well, like every good architect, I've learned enough to pass that over to Dalton.
yes.
My assumed answer to that is it shouldn't. Babcon will be on site for some time, but before I stick my foot down my throat, Dalton, do you have any concerns about if that's delayed for a few months? Will Babcon remobilize?
Babcon will almost be there as long as our other contractors, they won't finish up in the addition too far ahead of the end of the project. So I'm not worried about them mobilizing or remobilizing. And I'm not worried about any added days to the project or anything like that. I really don't have any objections to it. I think it would probably be wise to assess the budget towards the end of it and take care of it from there.
I mean, that would be my preference if the board is in agreement that we just wait till we're closer.
Yes, yeah, I am.
Okay,
If I've learned anything about contractors is if they want to get paid to do work, they'll show up. So I don't think we'll have a problem with getting them back on site and getting that work knocked out. And additionally, it's a pretty limited scope if you consider all of the work that they've done on the first and second floors of the existing library right now and how quickly they did it. They worked far quicker than what I thought it would take. So they would be in and out of there in maybe a couple of weeks of time.
yeah, if that long.
Right.
Yep. I
Okay,
think
yeah,
that's,
so we'll revisit that. Let's I'll keep that on my board agenda, and we can talk about that certainly next month or later.
okay. And then Tom, I've got the change orders from Codell. Did you receive those?
Yep, I have those here.
Yes, sir. So if they could approve these for me so I can get them signed, that would be great.
Okay. And I don't have anything else that's an active proposal request. We have received pricing for PR10. PR10, you all may remember, is the fallen cornice. But I'm not prepared to talk about it. You know, we do our due diligence on pricing along with Codell, and we will identify any questions we have where we think we're being overcharged. Well, the odd thing here is we think we're being undercharged. You might remember for that fallen cornice, originally I got a price out of like a Detroit cornice that was $50,000. And the number I got from Bryant Sheet Metal was about $3,000. I've tried to reach out to Bryant Sheet Metal a few times. I don't believe they have. We're requesting that the work have a mock-up so that instead of showing up and having a cornice that everyone hates, that there's a mock-up component that we can look up and make sure that we're all satisfied before we do a blanket replacement. And there were a couple of other things that I'm not sure are included, and I would rather have that correct and that we're all in agreement before we get into something, I approve it, and then have to revisit it. So I've attempted to get in touch with him probably 4 times. I'll continue, and hopefully we can bring this to a conclusion at the next board meeting. Also at the last board meeting concerning change orders, I remarked that the work included an allowance of $20,000 for board use on any found or new condition. And I thought I should find out if the board would like me to release those funds associated with any change order, just to reduce any financial burden that the change orders have caused.
Can you be a little more specific on that?
Sure. We identify allowances in the work, and allowance is not necessarily defined, but we identified $20,000. So right now that money still resides in your pocket. But if we want to use this sum on any of the change orders, that would simply come out of that pocket and we could we could assign the money to any change order. Frankly, I need to talk to Travis and figure out if this is a change order or a directive. I'm not sure the vehicle to do that, or we could do this at the very end of the project. But since I mentioned it at the last board meeting, I thought I should see if there was an interest in
Aaron,
acting.
what do you feel most comfortable with that?
Perhaps I'm not understanding it correctly, but I don't see a reason to assign it now, to be honest with you. I mean,
It's your money, just like the commercials say, you can use it now or you can use it later. So
I say we use
it
it
doesn't
later.
matter. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
I really would like it, and I would like to come in as close as we can, and we can have that extra funding at the end if necessary. But I
Yeah,
say
we can
just
reconcile
go
it all
for
at the end.
Yeah,
Okay, there's no concern in doing that.
sure.
And I think, Tom, if you have an immediate need for something to be paid, all you have to do is contact Karen and we can get together on the telephone or whatever and get it approved.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that. I just, like I said, I was trying to do some housekeeping since it was mentioned at the last board meeting. I didn't know if I needed to do anything. And since I don't have to do anything, I'm delighted.
But yeah, it'll be there. It'll be there, the cushion.
And a few items of note since the last meeting. Dalton touched upon one earlier. We've had some repetitive leaks at the Main Street sidewalk. Hopefully that's been resolved. Hopefully third time is charm. And of course, as Mo mentioned, the gravel patch has been replaced with some concrete. We've shared a few directions with Codell about some louvers that will occur on the north side. And I think that's more or less it. As far as old business, I can talk about the plague again. You all probably remember the large paper copies of the draft of the dedication plaque. Since then, that narrative has been edited down and the size of the plaque has been edited down. And Karen, do you have any of those samples that are included in the package for the board?
No.
I'm usually tech challenged. I might be able to pull them up on my screen. Can I share screen and try that?
I'm gonna make you a co-host real quick.
If you would, and it would help if everybody crosses their fingers.
Oh, first of all, Karen, I think I'm gonna have to not make you a host.
Okay.
I'm gonna remove you. Okay, Tom.
And let me ask, can you see 3 plaques?
No,
We cannot.
Can you see 3
Somebody
plaques?
wasn't crossing their fingers.
Yeah. Well, bear with me. Oh, here we go. Can you see that?
We can.
So the size of this has been reduced. I believe, I can't do the math.
Can you open the PDF for us?
Yeah, you'll have to click on them, Tom.
Oh, I did. I did. Huh. How about now?
Working on it.
No.
Can you try up at the top, maybe? Up at the top bar where it says open the file?
Hmm. No, I've opened it. Does that? Can you see that? Well, I
You still see the
apologize.
email.
Is that any? Can you see that?
No, sir.
So just the email.
Well, I apologize, but I don't have the wherewithal to figure that out.
Yeah, we had not, the reason I didn't put it in the board packet, because I kind of wanted a sample to give to Susan to show the Historical Society folks. To get
Well,
their thoughts on it.
let me let me get you paper copies. Indeed, I have those printed out here behind me. Let me get you paper copies tomorrow. And if
Okay,
you can get those to Susan, then then you can perhaps do a group mailing to the board and get some sort of direction there. Again,
sure.
I don't think this is,
Yeah, it's a lot shorter. It really is. I think it hits its mark.
I think that would be my concern, is if the board is satisfied with the new wording.
Yes. So we'll get that. I'll get that from Tom tomorrow, and Susan, I'll get that to you so you all can take a look at it. Okay.
okay. Well, my apologies for not being able to figure that out. And that is actually all I have to talk about, unless there's any new business.
I
Yeah.
do have one thing. We, during this next month of work, we plan to penetrate the building on the second floor. Karen has already put in motion getting the books moved, the bookshelves removed, and preparing the stage for us to go in and complete the work. But it will be a very loud process during the what we estimate 3 days of demoing that wall out. And I wanted to bring that to attention.
Is there any options of working on the weekends?
I could try to swing it, but I believe it would be highly unlikely.
Yeah, and we're open on the weekends.
All right. Karen, how do you think you'd want to handle that?
I don't know. This is kind of a conundrum, actually, because they've started some small penetrations on the first floor, and it's bearable, but there's kind of like a buffer because there's a room there, and there's, you know, the
Correct.
door is closed and everything. I mean, we may have to make a game time decision, and I know that's not a very good thing, but I mean, if it's excruciating loud, I mean, we can't really ask the employees to
Sure.
work through something that's, you know, deafening. And of
I
course,
work closely with Rising Sun on many projects, and I think their foreman and I have a pretty good relationship working together. So I believe, if nothing else, we could probably come in earlier before work hours, say start the work at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, give or take, and try to get the bulk of the demolition done from 4 or 5 to 9 o'clock upon arrival of the library staff.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But that'll take probably 5 or 6 days going at it at that method.
And I mean,
Just-
we can certainly see, and let them do some while we're here. And if it's tolerable, we'll just plow through.
I'm going to assume that it's not going to be tolerable though, because the grout in those walls is at its peak. It's the hardest, and it's the hardest that grout is going to be. That wall is grouted full, if I'm not mistaken. If not, then it's on 2-foot centers, and it's going to be a very difficult wall to penetrate in the beginning. But the hammers that they're going to be using and the power tools that they're going to be using will be likely deafening, especially with that size of a room for it to resonate in with no buffer.
Yeah, so I mean, there may be a good possibility that we may have to close to the public for those couple of days. And though that may not be ideal, I mean, it's prudent. So
It is-
perhaps
It is
Mo
what
and I
it is, Karen. Yep.
could make that
But
decision with
I'll talk to my general contractor about it and see where they stand on that. If we need to come in, knock it out early, and they are agreeable with that, then I think that would probably be the best course of action.
Yeah, I say we give that a try and see how it goes, and we'll just
Yeah,
have
if you
to
could
roll.
cut it down to 2 days, I think that would be much more acceptable. Just being closed 2 days.
Yep, Dalton, would that be helpful?
I'm sure that would help, but that'll be your all's call. We can try to work around and accommodate as best as we can
So like
without
if
having
you
to do
did
that.
some of the work in the morning, like for a couple days, and then if we were closed for a couple days, would that be beneficial?
Well, in that case, like I'm not sure that it would be entirely beneficial, because I think if we had three full working days to do it, then we could get it done. But if we're working in the mornings, earlier in the mornings, then I think the 2 days is I don't believe it would be necessary.
Oh, okay. Okay,
But I can talk to them about it, and that's no guarantee. I'm not their project manager, so I can't schedule their work times, but I think I can make an agreement with them, but I can't guarantee it.
and I wonder, I mean, if it's gonna be super loud, I mean, I would be concerned about the residents that, I mean, I don't know if we could start work at extremely loud at 4 AM if we've got people that live across the street. I mean, I think that's something we would have to take into consideration. I won't mean to play the devil's advocate, but I would hate to start something and then get it stopped,
I think personally, I believe that'd be a non-issue.
Okay,
Just these tools that they'll utilize for their demolition are, granted, they are very loud, but I believe the structure has enough sound deadening to keep that at bay while we're in the early morning hours. I don't think it would disturb anybody, and if it did, then we could reassess. But my personal opinion is I don't think that it would cause an issue.
Okay, well, I guess we'll just see what happens.
Any other input from the board?
May I ask, is there any guesstimate on a completion date?
With it's difficult to pinpoint it at this time with the outstanding PRs that we have, the issues we've had with pricing the balustrade, or sorry, not the balustrade, but the sheet metal entablature, and then also the work with the balustrade. We'll certainly extend the length of the project. How long, I couldn't say, but with how we're sitting right now, including the 31 total days, the 3 weather days Tom mentioned, and the 28-day from the PR, I believe we're sitting at the 1st of May.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions or input?
Tom, did you want to go over these change orders real quick?
Are these the credits, Karen?
Yes.
Yep, the,
It's like 1516, 2141, and 71. Okay.
115 Rising Sun Development was a credit of 1,658. You're probably tired of hearing it, but that's for the deletion of the glass display shelf there in the addition. Change order 16, also for Rising Sun, was a credit for $4,927.50. That was for not having to deal with paint removal off of that fallen cornice. Change order 2-1 from Mason Structures was a cost of $1,137.30. And that was for, you might remember the stone plinth at the addition that supports the columns had some open joints that needed to be filled with grout. 4-1 is with Central Kentucky Glass Company. That should identify a credit of $2,210. And that glass display shelf that was deleted, there were some supporting pylons that also were deleted with that needed to be included. And then lastly, 7-1 Spray Foam Technologies was a credit. Actually, I misspoke earlier. That's the credit for that fallen sheet metal cornice. The earlier one I mentioned for Rising Sun. No, there's something wrong there. Dalton, do you remember what 7-1 is? Provide a credit for all work identified in the construction documents concerning the fallen sheet metal cornice at top of 131.
Tom, I do not. Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, this might.
It could have been with the
I'm
the credit
sorry.
for the abatement.
It is part and parcel. There was one proposal request that addressed that. There happened to be 2 contractors who had fingers in that pie. So you need to put the 2 of those together. But it had to do with a credit for either sealant or some other work that was not necessary since the cornice was no longer there.
And
So-
4-1 is actually a charge, not a credit for 2210.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then it is not for the display case glazing. It is for, you might remember I mentioned that we have 2 different colors of storefront.
No, I'm looking at the change order, the actual change order, and it is for what it states. It says delete the glass display shelf. So deleting it. So we got a credit for 1658, but then they charged us 2210. Is that correct?
Yeah,
So it
but
looks like, okay,
but I think that really was not the display shelf. I think that was truly for the two different colors of, we have a bronze storefront at the front and we have a tan storefront in the back. And there's a premium for the quantities of storefront we have for two different colors.
okay. So the finished selections and then the motorized shades, that's the $2,200. Okay, okay. That just wasn't very clear on the synopsis. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm not accustomed to seeing them in this format. In my mind, they're still the proposal requests. But yeah, the number sounds familiar, and I'm quite sure that's what the cost was.
Okay, no, that sounds good. That's much, I understand. So these will have to be signed and I'll have to turn them over to Codell. Does anyone have any questions about any of them, further questions? You'll approve them for me?
Motion to approve the change orders.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Karen, when they come in and Tom gets them sorted out and finalized, you can sign them and send them on their way.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Is that all for you, Tom?
That's all I've got, unless Dalton has something.
I don't have any additional comments.
All right, Dalton and Tom, once again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. I hope you'll have a productive and quick evening.
Okay, thank you. We'll keep an eye on the weather, gentlemen.
Okay,
We'll see
take
you
care.
all.
Thank you.
Is there a representative from the Friends of the Library?
No, Shirley Wilson called earlier and she's having technical difficulties. So she just asked me to report for her that the Friends of the Library are planning a trivia night in early spring with a partnership with Rolling Oven, which behind us here at the library. So that'll be fun. And that they are continuing to work on their membership drive.
All right,
That's it.
Susan Buffett.
Yes, thank you very much. I guess it's probably been a month. I wasn't here the last month, but we had our annual election of officers in November. And Sally Graw was elected as president. Mike Coleman is the vice president. I'm the secretary. Allison Hume is the treasurer. And Shirley Rouse, who's been volunteering with us now for a while, was elected as a new member at large. And you are stuck with me as the representative of the Historical Society for a little longer. We had a program planned for next Thursday with Dan Rosenberg, but Dan has COVID issues, and we decided because of COVID issues that we would not have a meeting next week at all. We are hoping and looking forward to the meeting with the joint meeting that we're doing with the library, the Chautauqua, at our building in February, and then in March, I'm going to be doing a program on the Madonnas of the Trail. And this is a project that I'm doing in conjunction with the DAR. And it's really, really, if you're not familiar with the Madonnas of the Trail, do a Google. It's really, really a neat thing. And I think that's all. As well, I guess I'm the plaque. I don't know. Are we going to discuss that anymore, or have the board members seen the edited version of it? Karen, do we need to?
No, ma'am, because Tom was working on the mock-ups for that, and he was going to bring it to the meeting. So we'll get that out to him.
Okay, I mean, if you can kind of give me a feel for that before we have our next board meeting. Okay, I mean, I think that you've looked at it and you seem to think that it's much better than what it was.
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Okay, and then the only other thing, I'll take off my Historical Society hat and put my tax hat on. And we're very, very delighted that we're going to be back at the library again this year, offering that service to the community. We just appreciate so much working with Karen and her staff. And we've already put out a number that the clients have to call. We have a phone number. They have to call and make an appointment, and then they've got to pick up a packet at the library. And I'm, again, so appreciative that the library is willing to handle that part for us, not the appointments, but handing out those packets. We'll be starting on the 1st of February. Be there on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And I was very curious to hear the talk about the noise business, because that will certainly impact us as well. So, but again, appreciate that the library is so open to us. That's all.
I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, well, let me fill you in then. For the past, I don't know how many years, I've been doing this for 20 years. And I know we haven't been at the library for 20 years, but probably at least 15. I'm the local coordinator for the AARP Foundation, and we provide a free tax service to members of the community. And been doing it a long time, and they very well received. In the past, before COVID, we would probably do 350 returns here in Versailles. And we didn't, last year we did them at the Historical Society. And of course we didn't do as many, but you know, we do our best. We try to focus on seniors. We try to focus on folks, low income folks, but we do not discriminate. So the only ones that we do not do are farmers, preachers, and a business that carries an inventory. But otherwise, income really isn't a factor. Age is not a factor. It's a really, really good program. And I have people who I've been doing their taxes for 20 years.
Well, that's
We have
wonderful.
we have a number of counselors. In the past, I mean, there would be days at the library that we would have 10 and 12 counselors there and do maybe 25, 28 returns in a day. We can't do that now because of COVID. We're much more limited. We'll be doing we'll be scanning at the library, and the counselors will be working from home. And there'll be a couple on site, but the others are at home, and we just send the documents to them at home. It's a great service. Glad to tell you about it.
All right,
Thank
thank you, Susan.
Are we putting that on Facebook?
It's
Yes.
on every year we advertise.
Oh, yeah, we advertise it heavily. Yep.
Oh, yes, the library is our #1 advertiser. I will get something in the Sun, but it'd probably be another week. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Karen.
Karen's
Thank you,
always on
guys.
top
Thank
of it.
you.
All right, our next issue of business is the Versailles report. Karen,
Stacy?
Stacy, you're going to do it?
Yes, I'll do just the whole Woodford County Library report. How's that?
Good.
January, it's been a good month so far. January is traditionally a little bit slower with programming, especially right now with COVID, but I think we're still doing some great things. We've got our winter reading program still going on through March, where patrons can read books and fill out a little bingo card and get a free coffee mug from the library. Those are very popular. And also we're doing something we're calling Resolution Rescue, where it's a series of programs focused on, getting in better shape and organizing your life. And we have some community partners we're working with. We did an exercise class with Falling Springs. It's up on our website, so anybody can watch that and follow along with them. It's a really nice class. Health and wellness tips with the Woodford County Health Department, and all of these were online on Facebook Live. Declutter and Organize with the Extension Office. And then we've got one of our staff members doing a Zentangles class, which is kind of like a drawing, coloring type class designed to calm you down and make you feel nice. So I think that's some of the highlights of this month for us. We also have our Black Author Book Club tomorrow night, and they're reading The Personal Librarian. So that's always a really popular program as well. I really don't have a whole lot more to report, but I would just like to highlight our staff because they are phenomenal. And it's really been tough lately. People have been out sick, quarantining. And I've gotten the pleasure of working very closely with the Versailles staff as well as the Midway staff with scheduling, the desk schedule and everyday schedules. And no one ever complains. It's pretty amazing. And they're being asked to set the desk more hours to fill in for people who are gone, to do jobs that they normally don't do, to wear masks the whole time they're there. And no one ever complains about it. Everyone's just so happy to serve and to work alongside the staff. So I just really am grateful for them. I wanted to let you all know what a great job and how easy they are to work with. That's all I've got.
Good. It's always enjoyable to have coworkers that are fun to be with. Karen, your director's report?
She didn't say anything about me in that comment.
Well, you're the leader of the ship. So, I mean, it's all due to your leadership, of course.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you very much. You're doing a great job keeping everything together. So I don't have too many things, actually. We've already gone over in depth the library expansion. I guess just in addition to just a follow up on that conversation about the noise, if it's okay, when they get into this, because typically what happens is they're like, we're going to do this, and boom, they're doing it. The turnaround is usually really quick. So I was hoping that if something changes, perhaps Mo and I could make a decision as far as, if we have to close or when we have to close, or if we have to make some adjustment to the schedule, if he and I could do that together. Or, you could call a special board meeting. I just kind of would like to know what I need to do, to make a change fairly quickly in this situation.
How does the board feel about just leaving it up with Karen and myself or one of the other board members?
I'm
I
fine
think
with
that
you
works
and Mo
well.
doing it. Oh, sorry, Patrick.
No,
My
go ahead,
dog's
Mo.
barking real quick, so I'm trying to say it really fast. I'm fine with Karen and Mo doing it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Karen. They're going to let you know in a moment's notice. Tomorrow they'll be there.
Right. So is everyone okay with that? Patrick, you were going to weigh
Yeah.
in. Okay.
I'm completely fine with that.
Okay. It's just, you kind of get it because I don't want to be the cause of a delay, so if we have to make a pinch hit, if I could just call Mo or he could come in, assess the situation and let us go ahead and decide, that would be terrific.
All right,
Okay.
let's leave it at that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And then item B that I have on the agenda is President's Day. Typically, since I've been the director here, President's Day has been an all staff in service day, which has been very productive in years past. Last year in 2021, the board and myself decided to open that day because we had been closed so much for COVID in January and doing curbside and such. And really having an all staff in service day is out of the question, considering I have over 30 staff members, and bringing them together in one room is just not going to work. So I was wondering if this year, if we could be closed as a staff holiday to give these folks a break. Because the past 2 years have been kind of rough, but I think it would be a really good thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Unquestionably.
Just let it be a paid holiday and
Absolutely.
Bill,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve it.
I hear a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Nay?
I very much appreciate that. I think it'll be a great, a nice thank you and a really nice morale booster. These folks have been pushing it hard for 2 years. So I really appreciate your all's decision on that. Other than that, the last thing I have, and this is Mo and I, or Bill or Patrick, but the weather concerns for tomorrow. I've been watching the weather, And it's not that they're calling for a lot of snow, but there is an ice factor in there. So it looks like that's going to have to be a game time decision as well. You know, if we get an inch of ice or two or whatever, it's going to be pretty treacherous out there. I know the temperature isn't supposed to go above, I think, 15 tomorrow. So our construction meeting is at 11, and Dalton, as you know, lives in Pikeville. And our other construction manager lives in Estill County, I think. So, you know, there are a lot of moving parts, but Mo, I'll be in touch.
I'll be around.
Okay. And if I don't hear from Mo, I start going down the list.
I'll be available.
Okay.
I work from home. You'll definitely have me.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you all. And that's all I have.
The next topic would be the unfinished business. I wanted to bring up where are we at the audit. We basically approved the tentative audit.
Yes, I do have an electronic version of the final or the final draft that I do believe I put it in
Yes.
Dropbox for you all. I think it's an audit file.
Did you see any major suggestions or changes they had put in it?
No, it was approved as presented.
All right. One of the things we want to think about in the future, May 17th is going to be an election day. And we had a drop box up in Midway last year, I think, Stacy, and it worked out well. I'm pretty involved in that, so I can keep us up to speed of what they're going to want to do and what changes are made. Any other suggestions or ideas for new business? Well, if that's not it, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I do have a question, Mo. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
How are we just going with how we've been doing in-person programming for next month? How is Karen wanting to do that?
I mean, we're fine with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it if you're fine with it. Whatever makes you
Yeah.
guys comfortable.
Yeah, I think we're doing well with requiring the masks. And, you know, we're still doing a lot of stuff online for the adults. It's mostly teens that are here, and it's a small group, and they're masked. So I think it's a good thing. We just need to get through this. I tell you. Whew.
It's a challenge for everybody. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Everybody have a good week, good month. Thank you.
Thank
Stay safe
you.
out there.
Thank you all.